So, I recently attended a certain gathering, and for no reason in particular, I got the inspiration to make this tier list to kind of sort out the Straw Hats in terms of hygiene and who would smell from best to worst. Now, starting with Luffy, I think everyone will agree when I say that Luffy, in terms of shonen, he was the GOAT, is the GOAT, and will continue to be the GOAT. But in terms of hygiene, this isn't exactly a field that Luffy excels in. I think that in terms of priorities, I think this is probably last on the list, if it is even on the list in the first place. Hence, I think Luffy is a musty individual who probably doesn't smell very good. Moving on to our favorite katana muncher, Zoro. I think Zoro also smells pretty bad because we constantly see him training with all those comically large weights, and we also constantly see him drinking. If he's not drinking, he's training, and if he's not training, he's probably drinking. Hence, he probably smells like the locker room or alcohol or a combination of both of them. Now, moving on to Usopp. I think Usopp is probably a solid A tier. I don't think he smells bad, but I don't think he smells great either. I think he knows what deodorant is and takes care of himself. Now moving on to Sanji, I initially thought that Sanji would smell great, as he's the definition of gentlemanliness, or whatever you want to call it, in all fields except for treating women, I don't know, just like normal human beings. But the one thing that holds Sanji back in terms of this tier list is the fact that he smokes. Like, look at the picture for this tier list. He literally has a cigarette in his mouth. Like, this is just a guaranteed way to just make yourself stink and have no one want to come around you, especially with secondhand smoke and all that. Hence, I think Sanji deserves the first place in F tier, as not only would he stink to be around, it would also be a detriment to your health to actually be anywhere near him. Moving on to Chopper, I think Chopper would be in the same scenario as Usopp. He's a doctor and hence probably knows a thing or two about good hygiene and its benefits to the body. Hence, I think Chopper is probably in a solid A tier, as I don't think he would stink, but I don't think he smells great either. He just probably has a neutral scent that is non-offensive. In terms of Robin and Nami, I don't think anyone's gonna really find a fault or want to argue with me when I put both of these two people in S tier. And similarly, I think that most people shouldn't find a problem with me putting Jinbei in F tier, as it's kind of self-explanatory, but the man is a literal fish. From there, we have Vivi and Karu. Now, I think if Karu were by himself, I think he would probably stink pretty badly. But with Vivi taking care of them, I think their scent would be kind of neutral and they probably wouldn't stink, even with all the running that they do around the place, as Vivi would be there to just make sure that Karu maintains their hygiene. With that, I'm gonna put Karu and Vivi both in A tier. In terms of Brooks, even though he's a dead person, I don't think he'd smell bad because all that's really left is just a skeleton, and I think he showers pretty regularly, at least way more than a dead person would normally, so I think he's probably in A tier. Then we have Frankie, who probably just smells like Coke, and I personally don't really care for the scent of Coke, so I'll just put him in A tier along with the others. Then we have Yamato, who I personally just think that she probably stinks and is pretty musty. Last but not least, I'm not sure why the tier list included both Ace and Crocodile, as they're not really Straw Hats, and the tier list didn't even include like Robin, Brooks, Frankie, and Yamato, and so I don't know why they included these two. But in terms of Ace, I think he probably smells pretty bad by this point in time. And then in terms of Crocodile, I mean, it's the same thing with Sanji. He smokes, so he's immediately in F tier. With that having been said, let me know if you guys agree or not, and thank you for watching.